Ladies and gentlemen, we would now be proceeding for our panel discussion. I'd like to invite the members, the speakers of the panel discussion. Dr. Nawab Mir Nasir Ali Khanji, Honorary Council of the Republic of Kazakhstan for Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, India. A huge round of applause. His Excellency Dr. Nabid Kapoorji, Senior Advisor to Vice President of Somaliland and Board Member. Dr. K.L. Ganju, Dr. Honorary Council Advisor to Foreign Minister, Union of Comoros, President. Dr. Neeraj Sharma, Honorary Council General of the Republic of Palau to India. And, of course, I'd like to call the former Honorary Council of India to Lithuania, retired Wing Commander, Shri Rajendra Chaudhary ji. A huge, huge round of applause for all the members of the first panel discussion. Our moderator would be Advocate Udayveer Singh Bindra ji. Can I have him on the stage? And ladies and gentlemen, the subject for the panel discussion, I would also request His Excellency Nawab Syed Al Ghazi ji, Honorary Council of the Republic of Liberland for Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, to please join the panel. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And the topic for this panel discussion is Diplomats, Roundtable on Geopolitics and Diplomacy. Over to you, gentlemen.
A very good afternoon, everyone. So, marking the beginning of the first panel discussion, the topic for the same is geopolitics and diplomacy. So, addressing the same, I'd like to mention that world is changing, and Asia, especially India, is contributing immensely. As we evolve, our businesses, educations, ecosystem, and leadership changes. New leaders step up and take in charge. And as I mentioned, leaders and leadership, talking about the same, I'd like to thank Excellency K.L. Ganju sir for joining us for the panel discussion, Mir Nasir Ali Khan sir, Dr. Nabid Kapoor, Dr. Neeraj Sharma, Wing Commander Rajendra Chaudhary sir, and Nawab Syed Al Ghazi for the panel discussion. And the thing I've learned about diplomacy over past 2 years is that diplomacy is learning to what the other guy needs. And it is a learning to what the other guy needs and preserving your own position, but listening to the other guy. You have to develop relations with other people, so when the tough time comes, you can work together. Right? So, beginning with the first question, I believe that the biggest risk to the human race are the humans themselves. And the key risks today are geopolitical risk, cyber risk, and climate risk. So, do you think that these risks will be as crucial in the world of tomorrow? Beginning with you, sir.
Geopolitics is very, very important subject for me because the location of my country is such. We are next to Russia and China, and which are very powerful and big nations. That's why we have a lot of interest from all over the world actually. The biggest investment in Kazakhstan is United States of America, not China. China is also a big investor. So geopolitically, we are a very, very important country and location because we are next to these two countries. And since I represent Kazakhstan, and I would like to discuss a little bit about the relationship between India and Kazakhstan. See, in diplomacy there are two things, and in the government also, it's government to government and people to people relationship. And sometimes the people to people is really nice and good, and government to government is a problem. So every country in this world has problem with some country or the other. United States have issues with Russia, China has issues with the United States, and sometimes India also has issues with China. And Iran has issues with Israel. So Kazakhstan is one country, very, very important, has no issue with any country. We have good relationship with Russia, China, United States, India. These are the big nations. So we work with all the countries, we have fantastic relations. And especially with India, people to people and government to government. There's something called soft diplomacy, apart from being government, and there is embassy, there is consulate. But it's people to people, like, Indian Bollywood is very, very popular in Kazakhstan. Right. And, they really like, it's not just Shah Rukh Khan or the new one. The people love Raj Kapoor. even today, Mithun Chakravarti, I was surprised when a minister was singing to me a song from a movie of Mithun Chakravarti, movie called Disco Dancer. Still they play that song. So it's very, very, very interesting, surprising. And Central Asia, India has a lot of, since I represent Central Asia and India, I'll be very specific to these two countries. See, Central Asia and India has a lot of in common. The food, the culture, the thing. The food is very similar. We have biryani, they have pulao. We also have pulao, but they also eat kebab, things like that. The food is also very similar, mindset is also very similar. They're very modern, but Kazakhstan is very modern and very developed. It's a very rich country. We are an oil and gas economy. We are a hydrocarbon. I think our governor was mentioning to me that we are the richest country in the world, which is, I believe, and we have not done enough in 30 years. But what I saw when I was there, they've done extremely well. I mean, I would invite you to visit and see. And they want to promote tourism. We are given visa for India free because Indian tourists are the biggest tourists. They spend a lot of money. Last year, India has spent $12 billion credit card on foreign travel. $12 billion US. It's a lot of money. So we are focusing on Indian tourists, so that's why we removed the visa. But there is a challenge, we have to accept the challenge. The challenge is connectivity to India is not all that great. There are only 2 flights from Delhi. We are trying to improve that, bring it to Mumbai and Hyderabad. Connectivity to Middle East is fantastic. We have flights from Abu Dhabi, we have flight from Sharjah, we have flight from Dubai, we have flight from other places. Now coming back to diplomacy, what Mr. Bindra was saying is, today, like he said, world is a global village. It's, so every country has to work with other countries. During COVID times, India has been a great support to a lot of countries. We've given free vaccination to so many countries, which was need of the hour. So it was not a commercial decision. It was not a decision to make money or things like that. Thanks to our Prime Minister with a large heart. Even today, India is supporting a lot of countries. We support during problems in our neighboring country, Sri Lanka. India has been supporting them. So diplomacy and country, like you said, you need to work with all the countries, and that way India has been a great nation, great neighbor, and I have a lot of other panelists. I think they will have their own opinion.
I'd like to ask Ganju sir the same thing, that what do you think the key risks will be? Will it be geopolitical risk, climate risk, or cyber risk? What will it be in the future to come?
Good afternoon once again. Now the question is very tricky one. The diplomacy about 40 years back was different than the diplomacy what it is today. There was a time before, let us say, 1980, that diplomacy had a meaning that one country talking to another country and some result will be found. And solutions to the problems will be found, whether they are national or international. Country to country problems, multilateral problems, or bilateral problems. But after 1980, in my opinion, the diplomacy has changed from a diplomacy to a commercial diplomacy, and which has created all the problems around the world. Now you will say, what is commercial diplomacy? Commercial diplomacy, in my opinion, is that let us for 1 minute presume that a country, not a rogue country, but not a country which has some principles of governing, and a big country has some interest in that country for the sake of business. That country has uranium, or that country has got big population and the exports are very high. Then things which are not good and which should not be done by a state, they are ignored. So therefore, the commercial angle to the diplomacy is creating all these problems. You will be surprised to know that India-China relations are not at a good level today. They were not earlier also at good level, but they are deteriorated in the last 4 or 5 years. 5 years back, China was exporting to India for $75 billion. India was exporting to China for $22 billion. After 5 years, in spite of the fact that we don't have good relations with China at the moment. Forces are eye to eye standing on the borders. The export from China to India has increased from $75 billion to $103 billion. And India's export to China has increased from 22 to $30 billion. So that is, again, what I'm trying to emphasize is commercial diplomacy, that our business should continue. The relation may be good or bad, doesn't matter at all. So, in these circumstances, I am of a very firm opinion, the geopolitical situation, for example, let us say today, Russia has attacked Ukraine. People say, and we see it also. Now, why Russia was provoked to attack Ukraine? 90% of the people don't know about it. And I also don't want to emphasize the reason why Russia attacked. But what it has resulted in? It has resulted into the supply chain getting disturbed, the increase in the food grain prices because exports from Ukraine are not happening. So many things have disturbed, and it is more than 1 year now. It's about, I think, 15 months the war is not ending and Ukraine has been destroyed. If there was no support from the NATO, US, UK and other countries, it would have ended. Ukraine would have ended as a state, I am telling you. It is all because United States, Germany, all the European countries and UK and US also are helping Ukraine by way of weapons and all. They are sustaining this war, but how long? It is also on the other side destroying Russia also. Since it is a communist country, things cannot come out so openly what is happening in Russia, but Russia is also losing. They may not be losing by way of destruction of their country, but they are losing by way of men and material. So therefore we have to have a sustainable diplomacy where, apart from the businesses and all, the ground reality should be considered before taking any decision, before doing any settlement. Climate change is a big problem, but United States has reached a saturation point of industry. Now they are professing climate change. Things should be controlled, things should be done this. But the developing countries, what they will do? They have to develop. And unless industry is there, they cannot develop. And the crux of the thing is, more the population, more the problems. Whether it is India or anywhere, we are more than 8 billion people today in this world. 8 billion people. And to feed 8 billion people is not an easy thing to do because the land is the same. The population is increasing, but the land is not increasing. You cannot reclaim land from the sea. How much you will reclaim? And it will not be a productive land at all. So therefore, we have to balance about everything if we want to see a peaceful and a better world tomorrow. Thank you very much.
I just want to add to one. I agree 100% with Ganjuji is saying it because economics have overtaken politics. There is an issue between US and China, issue between India and China, but the business what he's talking about has gone up. Same thing. See, America cannot stop buying from China because majority of iPhones are made in China. Majority of products in Walmart are from China. If they stop buying, China will suffer America. So that's why what Kanjushi is saying is economic. Same thing, India buys a lot of API, which is pharmaceutical instead from China. That is gone up. If they stop buying, then all this, India is the bulk drug capital of Asia. And the majority of medicines like vaccinations are made. Suppose if they stop buying from China, both the countries will suffer. So it will not happen. Countries will continue to trade with each other. Like Mr. Ganjuji is saying, it will keep increasing. You cannot stop that. But they'll be issued diplomatically, politically and all that. That's a different side. Economics have overtaken politics and diplomacy. Thank you, sir.
I just want to add one more thing. Today India is one of the largest markets for cars.
I want to stand on the opposite side and face the two giants who've just spoken head on. Reason is because the common factor in what we are discussing is China. Now I want you all to hear this very carefully. Palau, probably the smallest nation in the world, has selected the largest guy sitting on this dais as its Honorary Consul General to address that we can do without China. Now this is in my capacity that I am sharing my thoughts. My President Surangal Vips Jr., but please don't take away the fact that I am against China. No, I am not, because I love Chinese food. I can't live without Chinese food. So, my President has been bold enough, President Surangal Vips Jr., not to talk to China on certain things. In fact, media reports say that when President took over, few people from the Chinese government called him to wish him, and I think President refused to take their call. They were trying to call him many a times on his cell number. So that's a very bold statement coming from a small nation. The second point that I want to stress is, look at Prime Minister Modi. Since the time he's come, he's launched a slogan saying, "Make in India." Now, if you see the last 7, 8 or 9 years from the time the slogan started, Make in India has made so much of progress that other than the chips of the cars, which is now also being taken care by the semiconductor industry of India, and in another 5 years you will see that India will start exporting semiconductors and chips to other car manufacturers outside India, which is a moment of pride for us. We've managed to hold on to self-reliance, or we've managed to start capacity building on self-reliance on many aspects. Food, so much of packaged food used to come from China, it's come down. The food processing industry in India has gone up. A very small product is called recycled rubber. You know, recycled rubber these days is used to make rubber tiles and rubber products which are used in gyms and flooring and etc. Till about 5 years ago, we hardly had any processing plants in India. Today, every city is establishing at least about 5 to 10 plants for rubber product manufacturing in India. 3, crackers, of course, Chinese come down. At one point in time, we had chicken which used to be imported from China, that's come down. So I very strongly differ to say that we can do without the support of few countries who try to raise eyebrows. And we have Mr. Vit Jadlinka here, who is probably an example to show how a country has to be built in modern times. The third aspect, and I won't take much time, is Palau majorly survives on a tourism economy or a tourism GDP. We don't have industries, we have very little agriculture, but yeah, there's one very strategic point that I want to make. We have a very manageable population of 21,000 people. So Palau is now trying to grow its economy based on information technology. And that is where we feel that many countries will build their economy, on digital money. However, we need to address the biggest geopolitical or cross-country diplomatic challenge is going to be on cyber security. Trust me, as I talk, your phones are not not active, you are not using it, but your phones are collecting data. I wouldn't want to say who's collecting the data, but the phones are collecting data. So who's using this data? How private is your data? Mr. Ganju just said his phone was left behind. He asked Jazz, you can keep it. But trust me, if I touched him, his heartbeat would have raised by 100 bytes. Because there's so much of confidential data which only he wants to keep. Could be for money, could be on documents, could be on girlfriends. I'm sorry, sir, on a lighter note.
Why should you feel sorry for me?
I just hope I don't follow his precedent. So, these are the areas where I have differed, and I have differed in good spirit, and I feel that as a country, if we become self-reliant, if we become self-sustainable, in solar, today India has, I don't know how many of you know, there is something called as International Solar Alliance. So about 10 years ago, most of solar panels used to come from China to India. China, even today, is a very big producer of solar panels for across the world. But India has taken the initiative to establish International Solar Alliance with the government of France, and we have embraced almost all the countries of the world as our members. And we are sharing the technology, we are sharing the know-how, we are sharing the experience of installations, we are sharing the pricing, the financial things as such. So if a country wants, we can achieve, but like most speakers said, it doesn't take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's a process. It's a process for 30 years, 50 years. So with this, I hope I have convincingly answered what you were asking, Uday, and thank you so much.
I just want to take him head on now, because he said what has been said, I will take head on. Now, after listening to what my dear friend, Excellency Mr. Deira just said, self-reliance. Self-reliance is always good. We are also self-reliant in many things. After being self-reliant in the last 5 years, the import from China has increased by 40%. After being self-reliant in the last 5 years, the export has increased just by 20%. The question is not that. The question is very simple. We are so interdependent, whether it is China with US, whether it is Russia with India, whether it is India with any other country. If that chain is broken, it will fall down. No country is immune to remaining just alone. It is impossible. You have to have, because it is so much involved. If India is exporting to 50 countries and there is a war in that zone, the export of India will fall like anything. So therefore, the best thing to sustain is peace all around the world, and which is not possible because there are certain countries in this world, I don't want to name them, they want war. If the war is not there, their industry will fail.
That's their business.
That is their business. To have wars around the world is their business.
And it's going on.
And it's going on. If nobody is fighting, they will go and attack. Matter ends. Russia entered Afghanistan for what? Because they wanted to, they failed, then America entered. And Afghanistan is, where was Afghanistan in those days? And where is Afghanistan today? So similarly, every Middle East country, wherever there is oil, there is a war. Matter ends. So again, my question, you will agree, all of you will agree with me, it is a diplomacy of self-interest. My interest in war is very necessary. Let us have war, let people die, and we don't mind. And we have an ex-army, he's the Air Force wing commander, he knows better than anybody else why wars are fought. Thank you very much, dear.
May I just
I just want to briefly clarify on what Mr. Ganju said, and we are not saying that we have to depend on China. I'm just giving an example of China that, politics, the topic was politics economics have overtaken politics. It's not any specific country. See, in Kazakhstan we have 40% of world uranium. 80% is we supply to India because getting a uranium is not easy. It's a nuclear fuel. It's India import for non-defense purpose. Suppose if you don't get a lot of our power plant, will suffer. India doesn't have uranium as of now. So basically, the idea was, the example was not that you depend on China. The example was to say that economics have overtaken politics.
Yes.
That's what we are talking about. It can be any country. China was only an example. It can be, I can say Kazakhstan for uranium. If they don't supply, a lot of power plant will shut down. There's Abu Dhabi is building a power plant. They don't have uranium. See, and about countries invading, raiding, and all those things, it's purely against our economics. See, oil is nothing but a natural product, and they are going to these countries for oil. What Ganjuji says is perfect. It's not that they have enmity or they have hatred. The only thing is they want that particular oil, so that's the reason. So it's a fight for territory or a fight for a product. It is basically everything is economics. Economics have overtaken a lot of things. That's what the reality is. We have to live with that. So to clarify, that we are not talking about countries in terms of dependence on economics. Yeah. I don't represent China. I represent Kazakhstan in India. But I was just giving an example.
One thing very funny is, let us say a country attacks Syria, for example, or if Libya. They attack, people are killed, everything is taken over, and then after, they will make an account that we have spent $18 billion of this war, we will take your oil for $18 billion and then hand over the country to you. They bomb them, they kill them, they destroy that country, and then they make a hisab kitab accounts. Here is the accounts, $18 billion spent on this war, we want this from you, and you cannot pay, therefore we are taking this oil. Matter is, America, now I have named America, has the largest reserve of oil in this world, if you take country-wise. They are not utilizing their oil. They are taking oil from the Gulf countries. Now, the recent time, they have started drilling their oil also. But what they want is the rest of the world oil should be finished, and then they will be the kings of the king. And there will be no king left, only one king. And they don't realize one thing. As a layman, earth is like this, round, correct? So if oil is there, we can also pull that oil back from here. So their wells will be empty when everything is taken out from this side. Dubai doesn't have oil. The oil is not necessary to have wonderful country like, I will not, no, Dubai is, how big? I don't know what's the population of Dubai now. I am very sorry, I don't know that. 10 million population. And out of that 10 million population, 9 million are expats. But I know once I was here in a restaurant at almost midnight having Chinese food, lovely Chinese food. I saw he's called Sheikh. Sheikh was coming, I ran after him to say him thank you very much. You know why? He takes a round of the city during the night time to see what is happening. Which leader or which king does this? Nobody. That is why Dubai is Dubai. In Dubai, you can have food from 200 countries around the world that is available. Every country has a restaurant of their own food in Dubai, which is not possible anywhere in the world. So thank you very much for listening. We will keep on talking, never end. So let us do something because we have to.
I must compliment Excellency Dr. Deira Sharma that he has generated so much of heat that 4 minutes or 5 minutes that he took, 11 minutes the other discussions are going on. And now I try to be a small part of that. I've been representing India and Lithuania till recently. Now that the embassy has been opened, I thought it deemed fit to resign so that, I've done enough for 15 years. Talking about Palau, is it on? Yeah. Talking about Palau, I want to say that he says the tiniest country. I'm talking about Lithuania, one of the very tiny countries. 2.7 million is the population, and they have taken China head off because they found that having signed for that famous Asian road complex and port complex, facilities, they saw that the example of Sri Lanka, how they went down in this debt trap, and they therefore decided to close their diplomatic relations with China, and the China threatened them and they said that, well, we'll take care of you. And they say we are big enough to take care of anyone in the world. So, the situation, geopolitical situations, depend on person to person or nation to nation. And likewise now, because of the crisis in Ukraine, again they have thrown out the Russian ambassador, and obviously they had to close their embassy. But they're a small nation, but they think for themselves. They think for this thing. And that's what I have to tell Dr. Neeraj Sharma, that thank God he's brought his Chinese food and the China into consideration, that all this talk going on. Thank you.
So my next question again involves India, China and America collectively. So, the Asian economic giants India and China have recently moved towards the de-dollarization drive as to reduce the dependence on the US dollar and to increase the settlement of international transactions and business in their own respective currencies. So what will be its impact on future course of things geopolitically and on the economic front?
Thank you for the question. Anyway, for all the excellencies on the dais and off the dais, yes, our scenario is very different. We are a newborn. We are born just few years back. So they all are seniors now for us. And basically, for a country born 8 years back, you need a lot. Diplomacy was there. So diplomacy is, diplomacy makes countries progress. And we have started that 8 years back, and with more than 7.5 million people interested in that bright idea, a passionate and mad man called President Witt Yarishka has got in, and वो कहते हैं, थोड़ा हिंदी में भी कहते हैं, मैंने तो स्पीच में इंग्लिश में कह दिया है, जब छोटा बच्चा पैदा होता है तो आई विल ट्रांसलेट लेटर प्रेसिडेंट, छोटा बच्चा जब पैदा होता है तो जब बड़े होते हैं तो उसको बहुत ही इजी लिया जाता है, कहते हैं छोटा सा बच्चा है क्या करेगा, ठीक है। लेकिन क्योंकि हम इंडिया से हैं और इंडिया इज़ वेरी पॉपुलर अबाउट क्रिकेट वर्ल्ड वाइड, डिप्लोमेसी भी अगर मिलानी तो क्रिकेट को थोड़ी लानी पड़ेगी। हर सनी गावस्कर के लिए देयर इज सचिन तेंदुलकर, एंड फॉर एवरी सचिन तेंदुलकर देयर इज विराट कोहली। तो हम उसी मोड़ पर जा रहे हैं, ऑल्दो वी आर वेरी स्मॉल इन नंबर्स, अराउंड 1500 इफ आई एम राइट प्रेसिडेंट, द सेटलर्स, राइट, and 7.5 in the waiting, but still we are the first country in the world to have a currency, Bitcoin currency, right, if I am right again. And Zaha Hadid, the great architects of London, they have designed Liberland right now, and getting lakhs of people interest in Liberland. There is a sense of security over there. What we are fighting is for liberty. We are not recognized. 207 कंट्री वगैरह हमारे यहाँ पर हैं पूरी दुनिया में, और इट्स ओनली 202 है जी, या सो फ्रॉम अमंग दैट वी आर वेरी न्यू। और मैं समझता हूँ कि हमारी जो मेहनत होगी, और वो फिल्मी डायलॉग होता है कि नेवर अंडरएस्टिमेट द पावर ऑफ ए कॉमन मैन, सो प्लीज नेवर अंडरएस्टिमेट द पावर ऑफ लिबर्टी एज वेल एज लिबरलैंड प्लीज, एंड वी आर गोइंग टू मेक श्योर विद द हेल्प ऑफ more than 70 representatives around the world, even includes that USA and Canada and other countries, big countries. So we will do what best we can for our entrepreneurs, and being the patron for more than 3,000 women entrepreneurs, I have to be a very diplomatic, to say the least. So that way we are going to inviting, be our guest in Liberland in August, between 6th and 13th, we'll be having a floating man festival, it's called, every year. It's a huge festival being done in 4 countries. We'll be on ship from Prague to Budapest. From Budapest to we'll be having Belgrade, Serbia. Then from there, we'll be going to Abachi, a free trade zone where we have free zone, this thing there. So you can come and register your companies. I've always believed, it's the help, whatever you try to help people should not be in words alone, it should be in deeds too. And Riverline is doing exactly that. You come there, you will enjoy the benefits of a new country. Everybody wants easy in transactions. हम कहते हैं वीज़ा आता है, एग्जाम्पल कहता हूँ, अपने नासिर अली खान साहब जो मेरे बहुत ही करीबी दोस्त थे, मेरे फैमिली फ्रेंड हैं, उन्होंने कहा था कि कजाकिस्तान ने फ्री वीज़ा रखा है ऑन अराइवल, और फ्री वीज़ा है। वैसे ही हम कहते हैं कि वहाँ पर जब आप आएंगे, वीज़ा तो मिल ही जाएगा आपको, जॉइन अस, आप देखें कंट्री को, कभी कोई छोटी कंट्री को जो है आप उतना डिस्करेज मत कीजिएगा। एंड रियली आई थिंक we are on to the right path, President, and again representing 205 representative offices in different countries, it's make a lot of help to do it within 8 years time. So I give all the credit to the man sitting here who has come from Prague specially for this. We are doing great work, and I request all the dignitaries, all the councils, the Indian government, please don't take us lightly. We will give you results. We will especially give results to the citizens who matters most, not the government, please. Thank you so much for your time.
So moving ahead, I'd like to ask Dr. Navid about the Sustainable Development Goals globally, what is happening and what will be the future course of thing through the SDG. If you could just give a short brief about that through this.
Since I have been working in the area of well-being and health, especially mental health and psychological well-being, sustainable development has been very close to me, and I think SDG number 3 is health and well-being. Since we started off with the decade of action, as I mentioned in my previous speech, that 2030 was the time given that we all have to prove that we are capable of living on this planet. Whether it is poverty, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's water, whether it's food, climate, health, etc. So we have to get down to do the execution part. In conferences like these, for example, wherever we go, wherever we see SDGs being talking about, but what happens after that? Why we are still not able to achieve what was to be achieved, I think, 5-7 years ago? SDGs has become one of the most important and crucial part of today's changing world, and especially after COVID. COVID has actually taught us that we need to do a lot of things to survive on this planet, where we are lacking. And it's a good thing actually, where we were living was not the normal. I think this is the normal, now what we are living at, to understand what more has to be done. So sustainable development is crucial element of today's even geopolitical system, because the world depends on SDGs. And if we are able to prove it, much better, because we'll be able to sustain. And as Sir and everybody has said, today's world is more of interdependence. It is not independent or it is not dependent, it is interdependence. And when I talk about interdependence, I have written few papers in journals about well-being diplomacy. It's a new concept which I don't know whether Sir know about it. Well-being diplomacy is when the countries nurture each other, when they talk about the well-being of each other, when they talk about how we grow together and how we sustain and how we live for each other. That is well-being diplomacy. And SDGs become a part of well-being diplomacy, and that is what I have been working at. I'm way too young than these giants sitting next to me. But I welcome you all to this journey with me if somebody wants to work on SDGs and health, and we are ready.
Navid, I just want to add, I think I was talking on SDGs, the 17 goals. I was surprised, please don't take me wrong, but I was surprised that less than 3% of the audience here actually knew the 17 SDG goals. And that's an opportunity that one of my organizations, Embrace Academy, has looked at it, and we are creating course programs for companies where we can share this knowledge of how these SDG goals have to be implemented and achieved, which is going to be present for the next 3 or 4 decades for us to really sail through this and achieve it 100%. So I see a huge gap area here. Please, all entrepreneurs who are sitting here, if you just pick up one of the goals and work on them, I think it will not only do good for the organization, but overall the cascading effect will be for the country. Thank you.
The whole country, the next generation and all that. So media is it's a very important part of a democracy. So media, is a watchdog. I keep a check on all those things. And to make anything popular, like Neeraj was talking about sustainability, which is very, very important. In India, generally, Ganjuji was saying very clear, America has achieved everything, so they can talk differently than India. Like China, when they was developing, they had to take care of the industry, develop the industry, so they have certain compulsions. In India also, we have a lot of compulsions. We cannot shut down all our power plant. We have 70% of power in India is from coal, which is thermal. There is a lot of power plant, there is employment, there is money invested, we need the power. Suddenly you cannot say coal is a polluting industry, we shut down the coal plant, there will be no power. So what Ganjuji is saying, what Neeraj is saying, when countries want to go towards sustainability, carbon emission, they have to look at a lot of other parameters. You cannot think like the United States because they are in a different team now. And coming back to the media, see, actually to make anything, specifically to sustainability, in India, the government is giving concessions to automobile industry. There's road tax is free, and there are a lot of things like that. And they are also giving concessions to manufacturing. The government has to give concession to everybody or every sector in sustainability. Like we are doing sustainable buildings, so there is no concession to sustainable buildings in India. Whereas globally, there is a lot of concession to sustainable buildings in United States or in Europe for that matter. So the media has to support every industry to make it popular, I can't say pressure on the government, and make the government aware that these are the industries you need to support. So media can play a lot of role, not just in politics, but in industry also, in geopolitics, and I believe economics have overtaken politics. That's my opinion. Right, wrong, good or bad, that's my opinion. Because I've been seeing working with government, 2 different governments, I've been seeing that earlier a lot of products used to come to Kazakhstan from Russia. Because of the war, it is reversed now. Pharmaceuticals used to come to Kazakhstan from Russia, now it goes from Kazakhstan to Russia. But originally the supplier might be India. See, the oil, Russia used to supply directly to various countries. Nowadays, India is the very big importer of oil and re-exporting. Saudi Arabia is importing oil from Russia and exporting, and everybody knows it's not a secret or a thing. But that's what economics says. So everybody Europe is depending on oil from all these parts of the world, and media is a watchdog. Like you said, media is also highlighting this, but again, economics people will, like Ganjuji said, all these country, America has, I shouldn't be taking note, but I'm telling you the reality. So, gone to these countries for specific reasons, like gone to Libya or Syria, Iraq and all that. They had an interest in that, and their interest was served, and then they left. What they were talking about and what the reasons were, is different from reality. So, basically, media is very important, and media has to highlight all these, and media has to keep a check on the government. In India, media is free. We have a very free media. We have television, we have newspaper. There is no restriction on media in India. People talk a lot that media is controlled. I don't think media is controlled in India. Media is very free, has freedom to say whatever side, whatever decision they want to take, whatever they want to do. I think Ganjuji will put on a little more on media. He works very closely with media, more than me. So he has a better idea with media.
I can only say, honest media is the Dhaka hour anywhere in the world. If the media is not honest, in US if it is Fox TV and CNN, they have different opinions. They don't show the reality. They show what is to be shown to the people. So therefore, media is different than the honest media. So if honest media is there, things will be very good around the world. If there is no war, but it's very difficult to sustain peace, not very easy thing. But maybe in next 5, 10, 20 years, people start realizing that war is not the option. Let the population reach 9 billion, then you will know what is the, disaster it will create for the whole world. Because unless we control the population, things are going to be bad, from bad to worse. Thank you very much, and I think this panel discussion was very successful. A round of applause for everybody, including
I think if I was able to do the justice to this panel discussion, I would be thankful. I thank all the honourable guests for the joining of the panel discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a question.
please.
Sorry to
To
interrupt
me,
in
to
between.
me.
To all the panel
I said you
members.
are rushing towards me.
No. So specifically when it is said about SGS, those 17 mottos, SGG, and what's said about the recession, I wanted to know myself and maybe for other entrepreneurs as well. Like, one of the agenda is removing poverty. So there are companies who are working towards it in India as well. Like people who are dumb and deaf, it is difficult for them to get jobs. So educating HRs to bring on certain positions where we can skill them and get them into employment. Educating the HRs about the mental health, which is really very important. We have started this initiative with our own company. We are a 10 people company, and we have been educating our clients and their HRs. Can I know, when you said about interdependency, I would put it as collaboration. Can any of the peak collaborations like yours help to spread this message very rapidly, so this can be brought as a solution together very faster? Then I don't think the recession will come in, because we are into the human resource management portfolio past 15 years. Every time we get into the job roles, everyone says recession hai, is it going to be a secure job? But we never had any replacements. Everyone is happily working.
मैम आप कहना क्या चाह रहे हो?
So मैं ये पूछना चाह रही हूँ कि ये जो आपने collaboration के बारे में बताया और आपने जो ये 17 mottos बताए, there are people who are working towards it, but जैसे आपने बताया कि एक दिन में कुछ नहीं होता, तो एक कंपनी कर रही है, दूसरे या तो उनको करने नहीं दे रहे, या तो उनको बैड माउथ कर रहे, या तो वो खुद भी करना नहीं चाहते. तो ऐसी कोई स्पेसिफिक जैसे सर की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, तो इज इट ओके टू कोलैबोरेट और टू कम टू यू एंड आस्क and give you those agendas? This is happening already. So if you guys can boost us more, we can reach out to more people, because this is not about earning and economics. This is about bringing the change. So is it possible that way? And if yes, then can we bring on those things and give it to you as a case study, so that maybe because we don't have too much mentors today. I'm playing.
Okay, I got your point.
Yeah.
First, tell me, has any one of these both, the Honorary Council judges, prompted you to ask this question to me, because I had taken them head on?
No. Not prompted.
Okay.
It was for everyone.
No, that was a lighter note. Well, look, you have raised a lot of points in your 90 seconds. Individually, a lot of companies like yours and probably mine and probably Navid's foundation is working on the DEI space, which is one of the 17 goals. Inclusiveness is the word that you want to talk about. Now, many countries such as India, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, I'm just giving an example, are very good play fields for achieving these goals. Now, when you talk of if somebody is physically impaired, cannot hear, cannot talk, because we don't call them deaf and dumb anymore. It's a taboo calling them that. this comes in as an aspect of inclusiveness. How are we going to include them in our organization, in our society? So yes, to cut the long cord short, we are working, we are there to mentor you, we are there to assist you in creating or outside UAE. Let me also tell this one point, and here I would request Mr. Ganju and Mirza to probably, endorse what I'm saying, that the best way for any company or any professional to work or expand outside India is to go to the diplomatic mission of the country that you want to work with. Because that's where you get the genuine help, you get the right information. So we have been appointed here to enhance bilateral relations and bilateral trade, of course. But then when we say bilateral, it becomes our obligation to support not only the citizens of our own country, but anybody else who wants to expand and do business. So I think we can take this discussion off stage because the program has to move on.
Yeah.
But nutshell, yes, it is possible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
अरे ताली बजाओ भाई